Well, on November 21st, there's a concert, or a festival that's beginning on November 21st at the Disney Hall in Los Angeles, and it's the beginning of a festival called West Coast, Left Coast. It's a celebration of West Coast music, West Coast composers. There are a lot of people involved in it that are really monumental figures in music in general, and I'm lucky enough to have been asked to take part in the festival, and I've written a piece of music, or I'm actually still in the process of writing a piece of music that's going to be performed. We're about 3 weeks away from it happening, so it's kind of getting down to the wire a little bit, but the project came together through actually the performance of End Vacuum at UCLA last year, which was a concert that that I had written over a period of time, just as sort of something to do that really was different. You know, for me, it was a really different thing to write music like that was very out of the context of writing rock music, and I thought it went really well. It was sort of the same thing. I was completely terrified of the experience, but I loved it in many ways and wanted to do more of it. And so some people from the Los Angeles Philharmonic were at that concert, and when they started putting this concert together, this festival, they asked if I would be interested in writing a piece of music for it and participating in it. And I couldn't say no to that. And I'm honored to be able to perform with some people that are, all of which are musicians and composers that I've looked up to for a very long time. Terry Riley, who's a contemporary composer who I actually was just introduced to last year. I actually heard that he's doing something on the organ in the Disney Hall, which will be really amazing because they've got this insane organ there that I've never seen anybody play. So the first time seeing anybody play on it will be Terry Riley, and that's kind of nuts. The Kronos Quartet are performing. I've seen them play, you know, probably a half dozen times actually over the years. The first time I saw them play was at UCLA. Actually, I was sitting next to Suzy Katayama, who's going to be conducting this concert, who refuses to appear on camera, but she's amazing. She's been my longtime friend and collaborator, and just overall monster musician, and probably the most talented person I've ever met in my life. I'm not just saying that because she's sitting right behind you. I actually mean it. And a group called Montanez, who are from San Francisco, are performing. I was introduced to their music actually because they were touring with Bjork. They're just incredible guys who push electronic music into directions that, you know, I mean, that are kind of, they're totally puzzling to me, and I can't even describe it. I can't even find the words. They do a lot of things that are very unconventional, like using contact microphones. And one of the things that really tripped me out that they did was one of the guys was rubbing a microphone through the other's hair as they were on stage, and it was creating this really interesting crackling texture. And it's one of those things that might sound sort of like a gimmicky kind of thing to do, but it sounded amazing. Actually, to be able to share a night of music with all of these people is really, there really aren't any words to describe how scared I am. Music is, I think the music is really interesting. It's the first time that I've ever, I drew the piece rather than think of it in terms of music. I actually was thinking of it in terms of shapes, and I was trying to visualize the sound in terms of like these kind of wave-like shapes, and they sort of emulate the shape of, like the outer shape of the Disney Hall concert hall itself, It's got this crazy appearance. It looks like frozen. It looks like waves that have kind of been frozen. The way that it looks is actually sort of directly informative of how the music is supposed to sound. I haven't heard any of the music yet because it's not the kind of thing that can be simulated. It can't be put into a computer, and you won't hear what that sounds like. We won't really know if this is going to work until the players are in the same room together and we're playing it. Yeah, I was really envisioning these shapes that are sort of changing gradually and following the lines individually. They go through these sort of curvatures, and so the guitar players are going to be playing with a slide, and I'm going to use this company Moog. They make, you know, some really incredible synthesizers. They're not necessarily known as guitar makers, but this guitar, it's kind of like an EBow. It's like these pickups, they vibrate the strings. They vibrate all the strings. So you get if you're a guitar player, you know what an EBow is. It vibrates the string as though it were a bow. And this vibrates all of the strings simultaneously, which is pretty incredible. And you have control over the balance of the harmonics that are you know, vibrated by the string. There's a harmonic series of each note that gets vibrated, and you can sort of adjust how much that is heard. I feel like the more that I learn about how music works and how to write it down, the more, or at least the better equipped I am to visualize, to get these visual musical ideas out into the world. You know, and the reason why I say visual is because I see them more than I hear them, actually. That's why it is with these drawings and stuff like that. That's really how I write. I write these things. This is what it looks like when I first write them. You know, I draw pictures of them, and they sort of follow these shapes, and then later I try and write them down, which is what this looks like. This is the beginning of the piece, and yeah, I try and write these things down, and I definitely I didn't know how to do this last year, so this is a you know, a step for me in learning about how music works, and that's the beauty of it, is that you can go the rest of your life learning these things. Ben, the bass player of Incubus, who's obviously one of my best friends, and he's going to play in this also. I don't know if he knows it yet, but he's going to. And then my good friend Blake Mills, who also played in End Vacuum and used to play in a group called Simon Dawes, who I've said repeatedly is probably the best guitar player I've ever seen in my life. He's going to play. I've been introduced to a guy named Kirk Helly, who is an LA-based guitarist who makes a lot of really interesting music. So if any of you guys out there have not heard of him, look him up. He's a really talented, interesting musician, and he's going to be playing as well. And my brother Ben, I think, will be joining us as well. And I'm also bringing over 3 violinists from Harvard who are my classmates and good friends. I think that it'll only affect the music of the band in the future. I think it'll only affect it in a good way, and I think it'll inspire, you know, new and different ways of approaching how we write music and how we write songs and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm just really curious. I'm really curious to hear what this is going to sound like. You guys should really all come out to this performance, because I'm totally afraid, and I need some support and encouragement from the people that I'm used to playing music to, because it'll be good to see some familiar faces out there. So, so please come, make me look cooler than I actually am.